Hello, welcome to History at Nightfall. Today, we're diving into a magical and mysterious Christmas tale from Eldenwood Academy. A story of cozy winter nights, secret traditions, and a shadow lurking in the halls. But first, get comfortable, relax, and leave the stress of your day behind. Pour yourself a cup of hot cocoa, grab a blanket, and let's step into this magical adventure together. Now fell gently over Eldenwood Academy, covering the rooftops, courtyards, and ancient stone pathways with a soft, glittering blanket. The air was crisp, carrying the faint scent of pine and cinnamon from the Great Hall, where students had already begun preparing for the upcoming Christmas celebration. Eli, a small and curious student with a knack for noticing the tiniest details, wrapped his scarf tighter around his neck. He walked slowly through the quiet corridors, his footsteps muffled by the thick carpet of snow outside. The soft glow of lanterns and fairy lights reflected in the frost-covered windows, giving the castle a magical shimmer like a painting brought to life. As he passed the Great Hall, laughter and cheerful chatter drifted toward him. The students were decorating the enormous Christmas tree with ornaments that sparkled magically tiny stars that twinkled as if they were alive. The smell of baking pastries and hot cocoa filled the hall, wrapping the space in warmth. Eli paused, watching a small group of students carefully string silver garlands, their breath visible in the cold air. Then, from the edge of the courtyard, Eli noticed something unusual, tiny lights flickering like fireflies, dancing in patterns he couldn't immediately understand. Curious, he took a few careful steps toward them, his heart pounding not from fear, but from the thrill of discovering something secret and magical. As he neared the lights, movement caught his eye. Tiny creatures, no bigger than his hand, appeared. A squirrel wearing a miniature scarf darted across the snow. A rabbit stirred a steaming little cauldron. And a cat, sleek and graceful, arranged small glowing ornaments on a miniature pine tree. They froze as they noticed Eli, their eyes wide and wary, tails twitching nervously. Eli stood perfectly still, not wanting to scare them. He could sense, in a way that no ordinary human could, their tiny hearts racing, their cautious curiosity, and their hesitation to trust a human intruder. He smiled gently and whispered to himself, "I won't hurt you. I just want to see." For a long moment, the creatures watched him silently, unsure. The flickering lights from the ornaments reflected in Eli's eyes, and slowly, ever so slowly, they began to relax, sensing the warmth in his heart. Eli realized, even if he could not hear their words, he could feel their intentions, their tiny secret lives, and the hidden magic surrounding them. Eli took a cautious step forward, his eyes wide with wonder as he watched the tiny creatures move about. The squirrel balanced on a slender twig, delicately hanging a glittering ornament, while the rabbit carefully ladled a steaming, sweet-smelling liquid from its miniature cauldron into tiny cups. The cat, poised and elegant, adjusted glowing lanterns that shimmered like tiny stars. Eli's breath caught as he realized the enormity of what he was witnessing. These weren't ordinary animals. They were living, breathing little beings with a purpose, a rhythm, and, most astonishingly, a festive tradition of their own. Every movement, every flick of a paw or twitch of a tail, carried a sense of careful attention and joyous anticipation. For a moment, Eli froze. How had he never known about this secret world in his own school's courtyard? And yet, as he observed them, a warm feeling spread through him. This magical moment was just for him to discover. He felt an unusual connection, a whisper of intuition, telling him that these creatures were not only sentient, but capable of trust and friendship. The squirrel paused mid-step and stared directly at Eli, its tiny nose twitching rapidly. The rabbit raised its head, ears perked, eyes wide with caution. Even the cat, whose graceful movements had seemed unbothered until now, arched its back slightly, tail flicking nervously. Eli held his hands close to his chest, speaking softly, I'm not here to hurt you. I just want to watch, please." Slowly, ever so slowly, the tension in the creature's posture eased. The flickering lights from the ornaments danced across Eli's face, and he noticed a tiny smile form on the squirrel's face, almost imperceptible. The rabbit tilted its head curiously, and the cat settled down on its paws, though its eyes never left him. Encouraged, Eli crouched a little lower, trying to appear smaller, less threatening. He could now see the full scope of their secret preparations. There were miniature tables laden with tiny baked goods, garlands made from strands of silver thread, and tiny stockings hung from branches with delicate care. Every item reflected meticulous craftsmanship, as though these little beings had spent weeks planning for this very night. Eli's heart swelled. The quiet beauty of their secret Christmas world filled him with awe, and he realized that he had stumbled upon something rare and sacred. For a long moment, he simply watched, breathing in the crisp night air, listening to the soft crackle of miniature fires, and letting the magic of Eldenwood Academy envelop him completely. Eli slowly extended a hand toward the squirrel, careful not to startle it. The little creature twitched nervously, but did not flee. Instead, it hopped onto a tiny wooden stool beside him, as if cautiously agreeing to let him be part of this hidden world. The rabbit nudged a small spoon toward Eli, offering him a taste of the warm, sweet liquid it had been preparing. Even the cat blinked slowly, its gaze softening, as though inviting him to stay. The snow around them glimmered faintly, reflecting the flickering lanterns and ornaments, making the courtyard appear as if it had been sprinkled with stardust. Eli marveled at the intricate details of their miniature homes, tiny windows glowing warmly, doors carved with care, and little pathways lined with sparkling pebbles. Each element felt alive, radiating both magic and the joy of careful, loving preparation. He knelt down, whispering softly, "I'll help. Just tell me what to do." The squirrel chittered lightly, a sound that Eli didn't understand with his ears, but could feel as encouragement in his heart. He poured some cocoa into tiny cups and carefully set them on the miniature tables. The rabbit guided his hands as he arranged small ornaments on a tiny tree, and the cat brushed his fingers gently with its tail, signaling approval. As they worked together, Eli noticed the subtle choreography of their holiday preparations. The squirrel worked swiftly, crafting gifts from twigs and shimmering threads. The rabbit moved in precise, gentle motions, stirring, baking, and decorating. The cat gracefully oversaw the process, ensuring that every light was perfectly placed and every garland hung just so. Eli found himself moving in harmony with them, a human among magical beings, sharing in their quiet, meticulous joy. Soft music seemed to drift through the courtyard, though there were no musicians to be seen. It was as if the snow, the lanterns, and the tiny creatures themselves hummed a gentle carol, a song of peace and warmth. Eli felt a deep, calming connection to this moment, knowing that he had found a rare and secret joy hidden away from the rest of the world. Minutes turned into what felt like hours, yet time seemed suspended. Every flicker of candlelight, every delicate movement of paw or tail, and every twinkle of an ornament wove together into a serene tapestry of cozy Christmas magic. Eli had become a quiet participant in their secret celebration, feeling the weight of the ordinary world lift from his shoulders, replaced entirely by the soft, magical pulse of Eldenwood Academy's hidden heart. After helping the squirrel, rabbit, and cat with their preparations, Eli sat down on a soft patch of snow, watching the little creatures move gracefully around their tiny homes. The squirrel hopped up onto a miniature bench and gestured toward Eli, as if inviting him to listen. Though he could not understand the words, Eli's magical intuition allowed him to sense the meaning and emotion behind their tiny voices. The rabbit, stirring a small pot of warm, sweet brew, seemed to share a story about past Christmases filled with snowy adventures and quiet celebrations. Eli imagined the tale in his mind: snow-dusted forests, glowing lanterns, and the soft laughter of hidden friends. The cat, elegantly perched atop a glowing ornament, seemed to add its own gentle, playful notes, and Eli felt the warmth of their shared memories as if they were his own. Curious, Eli decided to share a story of his own. He spoke softly, describing a snowy evening in the academy when he had first arrived, feeling nervous and out of place. He spoke of small kindnesses from his friends, a crackling fire in the common room, and the joy of discovering secret corners of the castle. Though the creatures did not speak in words he could understand, their reactions were unmistakable. A flick of a tail, a small chitter, and a tiny paw reaching toward him in encouragement. As the night deepened, tiny surprises appeared around Eli. A miniature cup of cocoa slid toward him, placed carefully by the rabbit. A tiny ornament, shaped like a star, was nudged into his hands by the squirrel. Even the cat brushed gently against his shoulder, a quiet reminder that he was now part of their hidden world. Each gesture was infused with magic, warmth, and the cozy spirit of Christmas. Eli marveled at the little details: snowflakes clinging to tiny roofs, the soft glow of lanterns reflecting in icy puddles, and the delicate aroma of baking pastries that seemed impossibly small, yet perfectly formed. Time seemed to stretch, the world outside forgotten, as he sat among his newfound friends, wrapped in the quiet, magical heart of Eldenwood Academy. For a moment, Eli wondered if the ordinary world would ever know of this secret celebration. Perhaps it was better that it remained hidden, a delicate jewel of magic reserved for those who truly appreciated it. And yet, the warmth in his heart grew stronger with each passing second, a reminder that the simplest moments, shared with friends in tiny wonders, could carry the greatest magic of all. As the night deepened, the courtyard glowed softly with the light of tiny lanterns and sparkling ornaments. Eli watched as the squirrel, rabbit, and cat moved with purposeful grace, arranging miniature tables filled with treats, tiny wrapped gifts, and delicate decorations. The air was filled with the faint aroma of baking spices, the warm scent curling gently into Eli's senses and wrapping him in comfort. The squirrel placed the last ornament atop a tiny tree, stepping back to admire its work. The rabbit carefully set miniature cups of steaming cocoa around the table, making sure that each cup was perfectly balanced on the small wooden surface. The cat, with its usual elegance, arranged tiny candles, their flickering flames casting dancing shadows that seemed to bring the entire scene to life. Eli knelt down beside them, helping to place a few small gifts. Each gift was crafted with care: a little scarf knitted from silver threads, a tiny wooden figurine, a miniature book filled with magical sketches. As he handed the gifts to the creatures, their reactions were subtle but unmistakable. A twitch of a tail, a small chitter of excitement, a gentle nudge of the paw. In these tiny gestures, Eli felt the deep sense of trust and shared joy that had been slowly building between them. The night seemed to breathe around them. Snowflakes drifted lazily from the sky, settling softly on the glowing ornaments, the miniature rooftops, and Eli's coat. He could hear, faintly, the echo of magical whispers, a chorus of quiet laughter and tiny songs that the creatures shared among themselves. Though he could not understand the words, Eli's magical intuition allowed him to feel the meaning: happiness, camaraderie, and the wonder of a hidden Christmas world revealed just for him. Suddenly, the rabbit hopped over with a small bell, its soft ring harmonizing with the distant tinkle of the Academy's great clock. The squirrel scampered with a tiny scroll, which Eli carefully unrolled to reveal a list of hidden surprises for their secret celebration. Enchanted snowflakes that danced in the air, tiny fireworks that sparkled without smoke, and little magical trinkets that glimmered like stars. Each surprise added a new layer of delight, drawing Eli further into this cozy, enchanted world. Eli felt his heart swell with warmth. Here, amidst the snow, the lanterns, and the twinkling ornaments, he was not just a visitor. He was part of something rare, magical, and intimate. The night stretched on, each moment unhurried, each gesture a whisper of comfort and joy. The creature's tiny celebrations, combined with the quiet magic of Eldenwood Academy, wove a tapestry of peace, wonder, and Christmas enchantment that Eli would carry with him forever. Just as Eli was placing the last miniature ornament on a tiny tree, a subtle chill swept through the courtyard. The warm glow of the lanterns flickered ever so slightly, casting long, wavering shadows across the snow. Eli shivered not from the cold, but from a sudden sense that they were no longer entirely alone. At the edge of the courtyard, partially hidden behind a row of snow-laden bushes, a dark figure moved. Its presence was quiet, almost imperceptible, yet Eli felt it immediately. The shadow seemed to ripple like smoke, twisting and curling unnaturally, as though it were aware of every movement in the courtyard. The squirrel froze mid-hop, the rabbit paused with a steaming cup in its paw, and the cat arched its back slightly, fur bristling with alertness. Eli's heart raced, but he stayed still, focusing on the subtle hum of magic that connected him to the creatures. Through this intuition, he could sense fear, caution, and curiosity radiating from the shadow. The figure moved closer, sliding silently across the snow. Eli noticed that its presence seemed to dim the sparkling ornaments slightly, making the warm lights of the courtyard flicker and waver. It was a presence that demanded attention without making a sound, a reminder that not all magic in Eldenwood Academy was kind or playful. Eli whispered to the creatures, "Stay calm. We can handle this." Though they did not speak his language, they seemed to understand. The squirrel's tail twitched nervously, but remained in place. The rabbit carefully set down its cocoa, and the cat narrowed its eyes, poised to react if needed. As the shadow lingered just beyond the lantern's glow, Eli felt a mixture of excitement and apprehension. This was no ordinary intruder. It was a being of darkness, intent unknown, yet somehow drawn to the magic of the hidden Christmas celebration. For the first time, Eli realized that the cozy, magical world he had discovered was not entirely safe, and that courage and careful thought would be needed to protect it. With a deep breath, he began to plan his next move, knowing that the creatures were counting on him to keep the peace while maintaining the warmth and joy of their secret Christmas celebration. The night had grown deeper, the shadows longer, and yet the magic of the tiny lanterns, ornaments, and creatures seemed to fight back against the darkness, creating a delicate balance between light and shadow. Eli's breath caught in his throat as the shadow crept closer, its form shifting like smoke in the moonlight. The tiny creatures huddled around him, their small bodies tense with anticipation. He could feel their tiny hearts racing, and through his magical intuition, he sensed their hope and fear intertwined. Carefully, Eli moved a few steps forward, his hand outstretched, not in threat but in caution. The shadow paused, almost as if studying him, its dark essence rippling in a slow, deliberate rhythm. For a moment, the courtyard was silent, except for the faint hum of magical energy that Eli had learned to sense. The squirrel, gathering courage, leapt from its tiny perch and darted toward the shadow, holding a small glowing ornament as a distraction. The shadow recoiled slightly, its form flickering like a candle in a draught. The rabbit, nimble and quick, darted behind Eli and set down a small trail of enchanted snowflakes that sparkled in the dim light, creating a gentle barrier. The cat, sleek and poised, circled around them, hissing softly, its eyes glowing with protective determination. Eli felt a surge of confidence. "Stay close," he whispered. "We can guide it away without fear." Though the shadow was intimidating, it had not yet attacked. It seemed curious, drawn to the light and warmth of their secret celebration. Eli realized that sometimes courage was not about fighting, but about standing firm and understanding. Slowly, he stepped closer, his focus entirely on maintaining the balance of magic around him. The shadow tilted its form, flickering like dark smoke through the soft glow of the lanterns. Eli's magical intuition told him that it was testing them, probing for weakness, yet the creature's tiny gestures of defense created a delicate harmony of light and courage. The night stretched on, time moving slowly as Eli, the squirrel, the rabbit, and the cat engaged a subtle dance with the shadow. Every movement was careful, every gesture deliberate. The shadow advanced, then paused, and recoiled slightly, as though respecting their unity and quiet determination. Through this small, tense interaction, Eli felt a profound connection to the magic of the night, realizing that even in darkness, light could prevail when courage and friendship guided the way. The shadow pulsed and twisted in the moonlight, its presence expanding across the snow-laden courtyard. Where once it had seemed distant and cautious, now it moved with a slow, deliberate confidence, testing the boundaries of the cozy, glowing space Eli and the creatures had created. Each step it took made the lanterns flicker, casting long, quivering shadows across the delicate ornaments and tiny tables. Eli's heart beat steadily, not with fear, but with focus. He observed the shadow carefully, noting how it reacted to the light, to their movements, to the magic of the tiny creatures. He realized that this was not merely an intruder, it was a being drawn to the essence of magic itself, curious, probing, and potentially dangerous. The squirrel, braver now, darted forward and twirled a glowing ornament like a spinning star, sending sparks into the air. The rabbit hopped gracefully along the edge of the miniature tables, scattering enchanted snowflakes that shimmered like a protective curtain. The cat, ever vigilant, circled in tight, silent circles, its eyes locked on the shadow, ready to pounce if it advanced too close. Eli raised his hands slowly, focusing on the magical intuition he had been developing since discovering the creatures. He felt the subtle hum of energy in the air, the heartbeat of the night itself, and began to weave a protective thread of magic around the courtyard. It was delicate, almost imperceptible, but it shimmered faintly in the snow, forming a gentle barrier that could guide the shadow without confrontation. The shadow paused, seeming to sense the shift. Its form rippled, dark smoke curling and twisting, a quiet warning that it would not retreat entirely. Eli whispered softly, "We are not your enemies. We only wish to celebrate." Though it was impossible to know if the shadow understood his words, he felt a subtle easing in the tension. The creatures moved with more confidence, their tiny movements synchronized with Eli's protective magic. For long moments, the courtyard remained a suspended world, a delicate balance between cozy light and creeping darkness. Eli realized that courage was not only in action, but in patience, in understanding, and in the quiet power of presence. As the shadow lingered at the edge, curious but cautious, the tiny creatures continued their tasks, decorating, baking, and placing tiny gifts, their joy and purpose a quiet shield against the encroaching darkness. The night deepened, and Eli felt a profound sense of connection, not just to the creatures, but to the magic of Eldenwood Academy itself. Here, amidst snowflakes, flickering lights, and gentle shadows, he understood that even in the presence of uncertainty, light and warmth could prevail when guided by care, courage, and friendship. The shadow's presence thickened, a ripple of darkness moving closer to the glowing courtyard. Eli could feel the cold pressure in the air, as if the very night were holding its breath. The lanterns flickered more urgently, casting long, quivering shadows across the tiny decorations and snow-dusted rooftops of the miniature homes. Suddenly, with a swift, almost imperceptible motion, the shadow surged forward, brushing past the edge of the courtyard. A chill ran through Eli's spine, and the squirrel jumped, sending a tiny ornament spinning into the snow. The rabbit froze mid-step, its paw raised with a steaming cup of cocoa, while the cat hissed sharply, fur bristling, eyes glowing with determination. Eli took a deep breath, grounding himself. "Stay calm," he whispered. "We know what to do." He extended his hands, feeling the subtle hum of magic thrumming beneath his skin. Slowly, he began weaving a soft, protective glow around the courtyard, a gentle barrier that shimmered faintly in the snow, just enough to hold the shadow at bay without provoking it further. The squirrel bravely darted forward, twirling a glowing ornament like a miniature star. Sparks of light danced in the air, illuminating the shadow's swirling form and slowing its advance. The rabbit hopped along, scattering enchanted snowflakes that spiraled through the night, forming a sparkling curtain that shimmered with warmth. The cat moved with elegant precision, positioning itself between the creatures and the dark presence, ready to intervene with careful swipes if needed. For several long moments, the courtyard became a delicate balance of forces: Eli's quiet magic, the creature's tiny yet precise movements, and the shadow's probing curiosity. It surged once more, then recoiled slightly, as if testing their unity. Eli felt the rhythm of the night, the heartbeat of the magical world around him, and focused all his energy on maintaining the protective barrier. Slowly, the shadow began to hesitate. The coordinated movements of the squirrel, rabbit, and cat, combined with Eli's guiding magic, created a pattern of light and warmth that the darkness could not easily penetrate. Eli whispered softly, almost to himself, "We can do this. Together, we are stronger than fear." The shadow lingered at the edge for a long moment, swirling and curling, before retreating slightly, sensing that its attempt to disrupt the cozy celebration had been met with unexpected resilience. Eli exhaled, heart still racing, and knelt beside the creatures. The squirrel twitched its tail, the rabbit lowered its ears, and the cat settled back on its paw's small gestures of relief and trust. Eli smiled, realizing that this tiny, secret world was not just fragile beauty, it was a space worth protecting, where courage, care, and friendship were the true magic. As the shadow receded, curling back toward the edge of the courtyard, Eli let out a slow breath, feeling the tension in his body ease just slightly. The lantern's glow steadied, casting warm, steady light across the snow-covered ground and the tiny homes of the magical creatures. The squirrel twitched its tail, hopping onto a miniature bench as if to signal, "We're safe." For now, the rabbit settled back on its haunches, licking its paws and giving a tiny, relieved chitter. The cat, ever vigilant, lowered its back and blinked slowly, a soft purr vibrating through the crisp night air. Eli smiled, feeling a profound sense of connection to these small beings and the secret world they had shared with him. The tiny creatures quickly returned to their preparations, this time with a more relaxed energy. The squirrel rearranged ornaments with playful twirls. The rabbit carefully set out tiny cups of cocoa, and the cat brushed against Eli's hand affectionately. Even the gentle snow seemed to shimmer more brightly, as though celebrating their small victory. Eli knelt beside the creatures, helping them place miniature gifts on the tables. Each gift carried a sense of care and magic. Tiny scarves, small wooden figurines, delicate trinkets that seemed to twinkle with their own light. The simple joy of participating in their secret celebration wrapped around him like a warm blanket, quieting any lingering tension from the shadow's presence. For a few moments, they simply sat together, surrounded by the soft glow of lanterns, the sparkle of snowflakes, and the faint hum of magical energy that seemed to rise from the ground itself. Eli whispered softly, This is worth protecting." Even without words, the creatures seemed to understand, nudging him gently and brushing against him in small gestures of trust and friendship. The courtyard felt alive with quiet celebration. Every tiny movement the squirrel's hops, the rabbit's careful steps, the cat's tail flicks blended with the soft glow of the lanterns to create a serene, magical rhythm. Eli realized that the most powerful magic was not spells or strength, but the warmth, trust, and shared joy of those who cared for each other, no matter how small or seemingly insignificant. The courtyard had grown quiet, the soft glow of lanterns reflecting on the snow and creating a sense of serene magic. Eli, the squirrel, the rabbit, and the cat had settled into a rhythm, their tiny celebration resuming with gentle laughter and quiet movements. But Eli's magical intuition hummed softly, a subtle warning rippling through him. At first, it was barely noticeable, a flicker of shadow across the snow, the lantern light dimming for a heartbeat, a chill that made him pull his scarf tighter. Then, from the edge of the courtyard, the shadow began to creep forward again, slower this time, testing the boundaries with a careful, deliberate motion. Its form twisted unnaturally, curling like smoke, and Eli could feel the tension building like a pulse in the cold night air. The squirrel froze mid-hop, its tiny paws clutching an ornament. The rabbit paused with a steaming cup, ears pricked and alert. Even the cat, relaxed moments ago, crouched low, tail flicking nervously as it kept its eyes fixed on the dark presence. Eli whispered softly, "Not yet." We stay calm, we wait, we watch. The shadow swirled closer, its movements slow but purposeful. It seemed drawn not to the creatures themselves, but to the magic that pulsed from the courtyard, the warmth, the joy, the cozy celebration that glowed like a fragile flame in the snow. Eli's heart raced, not with fear, but with anticipation. He knew that this would be a test of patience and courage, and that the balance of the night hung delicately between light and darkness. He extended his hands, weaving subtle threads of protective magic around the courtyard. These threads shimmered faintly in the snow, guiding the shadow's approach without provoking it. The squirrel twirled a tiny ornament, sending sparks into the night air. The rabbit scattered enchanted snowflakes, forming a sparkling curtain of protection. The cat circled, poised to defend if necessary, its soft purr a quiet reassurance. The shadow paused, swirling in place, as if sensing the unity of Eli and the creatures. Then, slowly, it retreated a few steps, only to inch forward again moments later, maintaining a persistent, quiet tension that set Eli's nerves alight with anticipation. For the first time, he realized that this night would not simply be a cozy celebration. It would be a delicate dance between warmth and darkness, patience and courage, friendship and fear. The shadow moved cautiously, curling like smoke around the edges of the courtyard. Its presence was subtle, but each movement sent a ripple through the snow and a flicker across the lanterns. Eli felt it in his chest, a quiet, tense rhythm, but he did not panic. He had learned that the key to facing this darkness was patience, observation, and careful action. The squirrel, now braver, darted forward with a tiny ornament glowing bright like a beacon. The shadow recoiled slightly, uncertain, and Eli noticed that it seemed sensitive to light and warmth. Encouraged, he whispered softly, "Keep it moving. Guide it without harming it." The squirrel, now braver, darted forward with a tiny ornament glowing bright like a beacon. The shadow recoiled slightly, uncertain, and Eli noticed that it seemed sensitive to light and warmth. Encouraged, he whispered softly, "Keep it moving. Guide it without harming it." The rabbit hopped along the edge of the courtyard, scattering sparkling snowflakes. Each flake glimmered faintly, forming a delicate barrier that slowed the shadow's approach. The cat circled in silent, elegant sweeps, its glowing eyes tracking every ripple of darkness, ready to intercede if needed. Eli focused on the threads of magic he had woven around the courtyard. Slowly, he began to adjust them, creating patterns of light that pulsed like a heartbeat, synchronizing with the tiny creature's movements. The shadow moved closer, then hesitated, then surged forward briefly, only to be gently pushed back by the combined magic and clever distractions. For a long while, the courtyard became a dance of subtle action. Tiny sparks flew from ornaments, snowflakes shimmered in patterns, and Eli's magic hummed in harmony with the creature's movements. The shadow tried again, testing their defenses, but each attempt met with careful, measured responses. The night seemed to stretch endlessly, each minute weighted with quiet suspense, yet balanced by the cozy warmth of lanterns, glowing ornaments, and the small but determined hearts of the creatures. Eli felt a surge of confidence. "We're stronger together," he whispered. The squirrel twitched its tail and leapt toward a glowing thread. The rabbit flitted along with a steaming cup of cocoa to create another spark, and the cat circled protectively, its soft purr vibrating in the night. Even the snowflakes seemed to shimmer brighter in response to their unity, as if the magic of friendship and courage could repel the shadow without a single strike of force. The shadow paused again, lingering at the edge, curling and unfurling like smoke caught in a breeze. It had learned something from this interaction. Eli and the creatures were not easily intimidated, and their quiet strength, their care for each other, and their delicate, magical coordination made the courtyard a place the darkness could not easily invade. Eli knelt in the snow, feeling the faint hum of magic beneath his fingertips. He knew that the shadow would not retreat completely until it understood that their light, warmth, and unity were stronger than fear. Slowly, he began to communicate with the tiny creatures, not through words, but through gestures and subtle magical signals. The squirrel understood first, hopping onto a small table and arranging the glowing ornaments in a precise pattern, each one radiating a soft, pulsing light. The rabbit carefully scattered enchanted snowflakes, creating a shimmering boundary that intertwined with Eli's protective magic. The cat circled continuously, its eyes glowing softly, ensuring that every angle of the courtyard was covered and that no unexpected movement could surprise them. Eli whispered softly, "We will guide it back gently. Together." He focused on the rhythm of the magic, weaving threads of warmth and light into a pattern that pulsed like a heartbeat through the snow. Each flicker of the lanterns, each spark from the ornaments, synchronized perfectly with the creature's actions, creating a delicate but resilient net of protective energy. The shadow stirred at the edge of the courtyard, sensing the change. It twisted and coiled, curiosity and caution mingling in its dark form. Eli felt the creatures tense for a moment, but he reassured them with a soft gesture, letting them know that patience and unity were their strongest allies. The squirrel twirled a glowing ornament, sending sparks upward that reflected across the snow, while the rabbit hopped along, scattering tiny glimmering stars in intricate patterns. The cat moved gracefully, circling the boundaries, its soft purr a constant calming presence. Every element worked together, each motion precise and intentional, a quiet symphony of light and magic designed to protect and guide the shadow away. Eli felt a deep sense of calm as the pattern solidified. The courtyard shimmered with warmth, each thread of magic pulsating in harmony with the snowflakes, lanterns, and the creature's movements. The shadow paused, curling slowly, then flickering uncertainly, as if testing the strength of this newfound balance. With every breath, Eli and the tiny creatures reinforced their pattern. They did not push with aggression, but with care, precision, and unity, demonstrating that light and warmth could outlast fear and darkness. In this quiet preparation, Eli realized that true courage was not in confrontation alone, but in the steadfast, gentle protection of those who rely on you and the world you cherish. The shadow swirled at the edge of the courtyard one last time, dark tendrils curling and flickering in the pale moonlight. Eli took a deep breath, feeling the warmth of the creatures and the pulsing threads of magic around him. He whispered softly, "Together, we are stronger than fear." The squirrel darted forward, twirling a glowing ornament high into the air. Sparks cascaded downward like a gentle waterfall of light, illuminating the courtyard and casting soft, dancing reflections across the snow. The rabbit hopped along, scattering enchanted snowflakes that shimmered like a constellation of tiny stars. The cat moved gracefully, circling the perimeter, its eyes glowing with determination and soft purring resonating through the cold night air. Eli raised his hands, weaving the threads of protective magic into a shimmering dome of warmth and light. The shadow hesitated, its dark form twisting and recoiling, sensing the overwhelming power of their combined unity. Slowly, it began to retreat, curling back toward the edge of the courtyard. With each careful movement of the creatures and each pulse of Eli's magic, the shadow diminished, its darkness absorbed and softened by the cozy glow surrounding them. The snowflakes sparkled brighter, the lantern's light steadied, and the miniature homes of the magical creatures seemed to glow with renewed warmth. Eli exhaled, a sense of calm washing over him. The shadow was gone, at least for now, pushed back by courage, care, and friendship. The squirrel twitched its tail joyfully, the rabbit's ears flicked with excitement, and the cat brushed affectionately against Eli's side. They had succeeded not through force, but through delicate coordination, patience, and the quiet strength of unity. Eli knelt among them, arranging the final miniature gifts and ornaments. The courtyard now glowed fully with cozy magic. Tiny glowing stars danced in the snow. Steaming cups of cocoa warmed tiny paws, and the faint hum of enchanted threads pulsed softly in the air. For the first time that night, Eli could relax completely, basking in the warmth of this hidden Christmas celebration. They spent the remaining hours sharing small joys. The squirrel performed playful flips with ornaments. The rabbit offered tiny sips of cocoa, and the cat twirled gracefully around the glowing miniature tree. The snow fell softly, muffling the world outside and wrapping the courtyard in a peaceful, magical cocoon. Every moment was deliberate, slow, and filled with the cozy enchantment of a Christmas celebrated quietly, safely, and warmly. Eli smiled, realizing that this secret world its tiny creatures, glowing lights, and magical threads was a treasure beyond any ordinary adventure. In the balance between darkness and light, between fear and courage, they had found a quiet, lasting joy. And as he watched the lanterns flicker softly in the snow, he knew that the magic of Eldenwood Academy's hidden Christmas would stay with him forever. As the night stretched on, the lanterns continued to glow softly, their light reflecting off the delicate snowflakes that drifted lazily from the sky. Eli sat quietly among the creatures, watching the courtyard shimmer in the gentle glow. The squirrel twitched its tail and nibbled a tiny treat. The rabbit carefully sipped from a miniature cup of cocoa, and the cat curled up near Eli's side, purring softly. The magic of the courtyard felt alive, almost breathing with them. Every ornament, every tiny house, every thread of enchanted snow seemed to pulse faintly, harmonizing with the quiet rhythm of the night. Eli realized that this peace, this hidden world, was a fragile treasure, one that needed patience and care to protect. Slowly, the first hints of dawn began to creep across the horizon, soft pinks and golds brushing the edges of the dark sky. The snow sparkled in the new light, and Eli felt a warm sense of completion settle over him. They had celebrated, they had faced fear, and they had found a quiet victory not through force, but through unity, understanding, and gentle courage. The squirrel performed one last playful leap, twirling a glowing ornament high into the air. The rabbit hopped delicately along the edge of the courtyard, scattering tiny enchanted snowflakes that shimmered in the first rays of sunlight. Even the cat stretched lazily, tail flicking gracefully, eyes bright with contentment. Eli rose slowly, brushing snow from his coat, and took a final look at the hidden world. The creatures watched him with trusting eyes, and for a moment, everything was still, perfect, and calm. He whispered softly, "Thank you for letting me share this night with you." Though they did not speak in words, their small gestures, twitching tails, Gentle nudges, soft purrs answered him clearly. As the morning light grew stronger, Eli felt the warmth of the night linger in his heart. He knew that the shadow might return someday, that challenges might come, but for now they had created a moment of pure, cozy magic, a memory that would stay with him forever. With one last glance at the glowing courtyard, he stepped back toward the castle, carrying the secret joy of Eldenwood Academy's hidden Christmas with him into the new day. Even as the first hints of dawn had not yet touched the sky, the courtyard remained alive with soft, magical energy. Eli and the tiny creatures moved slowly, savoring the remaining hours of the night. The squirrel balanced carefully on the edges of the miniature rooftops, hopping from one glowing ornament to another. The rabbit tiptoed along, sprinkling enchanted snowflakes that shimmered faintly with every movement, and the cat meandered gracefully between them, brushing against Eli's side now and then, as if sharing the calm of the moment. The shadow, though still lingering faintly at the edge of the courtyard, seemed to hesitate, watching the quiet display of warmth and unity. Its dark form curled slowly, drawn by curiosity, yet restrained by the radiant glow of light and magic surrounding the small family of creatures. Eli felt a ripple of tension, but also a steady reassurance. Their gentle courage had taught the shadow that this place was protected not through aggression, but through care and quiet strength. Eli knelt beside the glowing miniature tree, arranging a few final ornaments and tiny gifts. Each movement was deliberate and mindful, a small act of love that seemed to hum softly through the courtyard. He placed a tiny wooden star atop the tree, and the squirrel twitched its tail excitedly, while the rabbit clapped its tiny paws in a quiet, joyous gesture. The cat curled its tail around the base of the tree, purring contentedly as the threads of magic pulsed faintly in harmony with their tiny, shared hearts. For a while, they simply sat together, watching the snowflakes drift lazily from the sky, the soft glow of the lanterns reflecting off the snow. Eli could hear faint whispers of enchantment in the air, the residual hum of magic from the protective threads and the ornament's glow. Each creature moved slowly and deliberately, savoring the moment, tiny bites of cocoa, gentle twirls of ornaments, soft chittering laughter that echoed faintly across the courtyard. Though the shadow lingered, it no longer seemed threatening. Its form flickered like smoke caught in the moonlight, watching, observing, yet respecting the quiet strength of Eli and his tiny companions. The night was almost at its end, yet every second was rich with the magic of trust, warmth, and the soft glow of friendship. Eli realized that these quiet hours, the stillness, the small joys, the magical harmony of creatures and courtyard, were the true heart of the hidden Christmas celebration. It was not about grand feats or battles, but the small moments that wove together to form a lasting memory of courage, care, and wonder. The first golden rays of dawn began to touch the edges of the sky, painting soft streaks of pink and amber across the snowy courtyard. Eli felt a gentle warmth on his face, and the tiny creatures stirred with delight, sensing the new day approaching. The snow sparkled in the morning light, reflecting off the ornaments and lanterns, casting a delicate shimmer that made the courtyard feel even more magical. The shadow, sensing the growing light and the steady, calm courage of Eli and the creatures, slowly began to retreat. Its dark form curled and twisted one last time, observing the harmony of the space it had tested throughout the night. Then, with a final flicker, it dissipated into the edges of the forest, leaving the courtyard bathed in peaceful, cozy light. Eli exhaled softly, a mixture of relief and quiet triumph filling his chest. The squirrel hopped playfully across the tiny rooftops, balancing on ornaments and letting out tiny chittering squeaks of joy. The rabbit twirled delicately around the courtyard, spreading glittering snowflakes that caught the morning light, creating sparkling trails that shimmered like stardust. The cat stretched lazily and purred, brushing affectionately against Eli's side, its soft vibrations a gentle reassurance that all was well. Eli knelt beside the miniature tree one last time, arranging the remaining gifts and ornaments. Tiny scarves, carved figurines, and little glowing trinkets now adorned every surface, each one radiating a quiet, magical warmth. The threads of magic he had woven during the night pulsed softly, harmonizing with the gentle morning light, creating a sense of balance and tranquility that seemed to whisper, "The magic of courage, care, and friendship endures." They spent the final moments of the night sharing simple, quiet joys. The squirrel performed playful flips with ornaments, the rabbit nibbled tiny treats and sipped cocoa, and the cat twirled gracefully around the glowing tree. Eli watched them, smiling, feeling an unspoken bond with these tiny magical beings. The courtyard was no longer just a place of shelter. It was a living tapestry of light, warmth, and delicate magic. As the sun rose higher, Eli knew it was time to leave. He looked at the creatures with gratitude, whispering softly, "Thank you for letting me share this night with you." The squirrel twitched its tail, the rabbit gave a small, happy hop, and the cat brushed gently against his hand. Though the creatures could not speak his words, their gestures conveyed understanding, trust, and affection. Eli stood slowly, feeling the gentle morning glow wrap around him. The courtyard sparkled in quiet harmony, and he realized that even in the presence of shadows, the warmth of friendship, courage, and care could illuminate the darkest night. With one last glance at the hidden magical world, he stepped back toward Eldenwood Academy, carrying the secret joy of a cozy, enchanted Christmas in his heart, a memory that would last forever. The courtyard was bathed in soft morning light, snow sparkling like tiny diamonds on the rooftops of the miniature homes. Eli watched quietly as the tiny creatures finished their last playful movements. The squirrel balanced on the highest ornament, performing a gentle, joyful spin. The rabbit hopped delicately along the edges, scattering enchanted snowflakes that glimmered faintly in the warm glow. The cat stretched slowly, curling around the base of the glowing miniature tree, purring a soft, contented hum. The shadow was nowhere to be seen, having fully retreated into the depths of the forest. Eli felt a quiet sense of relief, but also a lingering respect for the mysterious presence that had tested their courage. The night had been long, filled with gentle tension, soft surprises, and tiny magical victories, but the warmth of the hidden celebration had prevailed. Eli knelt among the creatures one last time, arranging the remaining miniature gifts with care. Tiny scarves, carved figurines, and delicate ornaments now adorned every little home, each radiating a soft, cozy glow. He smiled, realizing that the true magic of this hidden Christmas was not in battles or grand gestures, but in patience, courage, and the quiet joy of shared moments. The snow continued to fall softly, muffling the world outside and wrapping the courtyard in a serene, enchanted cocoon. Lanterns flickered gently, reflecting off the snow and ornaments, creating a subtle rhythm that matched Eli's calm breathing. For a few moments, all was still, perfect, and peaceful, a delicate pause between the night's challenges and the new day's promise. Finally, Eli rose slowly, brushing snow from his coat. He looked at the squirrel, the rabbit, and the cat with gratitude. "Thank you for sharing this night with me," he whispered. Tiny gestures, a twitching tail, a gentle hop, a soft rub answered him with warmth and understanding. As Eli stepped back toward Eldenwood Academy, he carried the quiet magic of the hidden Christmas in his heart. The courtyard sparkled behind him, a secret world of cozy enchantment, courage, and friendship that would remain untouched, safe, and magical. And as the first full rays of morning illuminated the snow, Eli knew one thing for certain. The magic of that night would stay with him forever. The courtyard was now bathed in the softest morning light, the sky streaked with delicate hues of pink and gold. Snowflakes drifted lazily from the sky, each one catching the gentle glow of the lanterns and ornaments, creating a shimmering tapestry across the tiny rooftops. Eli sat quietly among the creatures, savoring the peaceful end of a magical night. The squirrel twitched its tail and hopped playfully across the miniature rooftops one last time, balancing on glowing ornaments and leaving faint trails of sparkling dust in its wake. The rabbit carefully sipped the last drops of warm cocoa, ears flicking at the soft sounds of the courtyard. The cat curled up near Eli, its soft purrs blending with the faint hum of the enchanted threads that pulsed subtly beneath the snow and decorations. Though the shadow had vanished completely, its memory lingered in the quiet tension that had filled the night. Eli felt a deep appreciation for the delicate balance they had maintained, the harmony of courage, care, and the soft glow of friendship that had kept the darkness at bay. He rose slowly and wandered among the tiny houses, touching each miniature door and window with reverent care. Each home, each ornament, each thread of enchanted snow seemed to hum faintly in acknowledgment of their quiet triumph. Even in this secret, hidden corner of the world, the spirit of Christmas, the warmth of sharing, of bravery, and of gentle wonder shone brightly. The creatures gathered around Eli one final time. The squirrel perched lightly on his shoulder, the rabbit nudged his hand, and the cat brushed affectionately against his leg. Together, they watched as the morning sun began to rise fully, casting long, warm rays across the sparkling courtyard. Eli smiled softly, feeling a profound connection to this hidden world, a magical memory sealed in light, warmth, and quiet joy. As the first full day broke over Eldenwood Academy, Eli took one last look at the courtyard. Lanterns glowed gently, ornaments reflected the sun's early rays, and the snow sparkled as though sprinkled with tiny diamonds. He whispered softly, "Until next Christmas," and turned back toward the castle, carrying with him the secret magic, the lessons of courage, and the cozy warmth of a night that would linger in his heart forever. The courtyard remained silent, peaceful, and safe, a hidden world of magic, friendship, and light tucked away beneath the quiet snow, waiting for another night, another story, another cozy Christmas to come. The courtyard was quiet now, bathed in the soft morning glow. The snow glistened like tiny crystals, and the lanterns cast a gentle golden light that seemed to linger even as the sun rose higher. Eli knelt one last time among the tiny creatures, feeling their warm, trusting presence. The squirrel perched on his shoulder, giving a small, excited chirp as if saying goodbye. The rabbit hopped lightly onto his hand, ears twitching gently in farewell. The cat brushed affectionately against Eli's side one final time, purring softly, a reminder that their bond was strong and enduring. Eli whispered softly, "Thank you for letting me share this night with you. I will never forget it." The creatures responded with tiny gestures, twisting tails, gentle hops, and soft purrs that spoke louder than words ever could. He slowly rose, taking one last look around the sparkling courtyard. The ornaments reflected the morning light, the enchanted threads of magic shimmered faintly, and the little homes of the creatures glowed warmly, a secret treasure hidden beneath the snow. Eli smiled, feeling the quiet joy of this magical Christmas night settle deep in his heart. As he turned to leave, he felt a soft gust of wind brush past him, carrying the faintest whisper of magic and promise. It was as if the courtyard itself were saying, "Until next time, we'll be waiting." Eli stepped toward Eldenwood Academy, carrying the secret magic, the lessons of courage, and the warmth of a cozy, enchanted Christmas that would remain with him forever. The courtyard remained, silent yet alive, a hidden world of friendship, light, and wonder, patiently awaiting the next magical night. And somewhere in the gentle morning snow, the memory of that Christmas shimmered like the faintest star, a secret treasure tucked safely away in the heart of Eli and his tiny friends. And so, this is where Eli's Christmas night comes to an end. For now. But his story doesn't end here. Beyond the snow, beyond the lantern light, many more secrets and adventures are still waiting for him. If you'd like to continue Eli's journey, discover new magical nights, hidden worlds, and cozy mysteries, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave a like. Thank you for spending this peaceful night with me. Rest well, and I'll see you in the next story.